Oh, this book really shaped my worldview. It is carnal in a way, but you learn to get around it. Get around what? The carnality of the black pill? I don't think that's I don't think you're probably it's probably because you're lucky enough to be Christian and not lucky, but I mean you're Christian, right? So you have a more like a more proper worldview, proper way of understanding the world. That's why you're able to handle those truths of the black pill in a healthy way, and you can also reject some of the stupider parts of the black pill. And so that's why you're able to do it. It's not because of the black pill, it's because of your Christianity, I would say. I mean, I don't really know, but it sounds like the way you talk sounds like it, man. Curious, am I allowed to watch this live as a high schooler? Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not really trying to market to high schoolers, but I'm not gonna say anything too bad or anything, so you're all right. Just remember, man, I'm not a pastor and I'm not your, don't like try to don't like hero worship me or anything, I'm kind of like not even that good of a person, but I'm doing my best, and and I'm trying to just I have some skills in biblical interpretation, so I'm trying to use that to help people. Our high school is like me allowed to watch. Yeah, yeah, you're good. Black pill is satanic. It might be that all those pill things are satanic. I do tend to suspect that they are. When I say like I like some of the black pill things, it's like because some of the things they say are true, and all those satanic plots always have some truth to them. Let's find a godly Christian girl. I wouldn't even stress on the looks. Ignore society's dating advice. That's true. You guys ever hear that song? If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, get an ugly girl to be your wife. From my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. Anyway, let's watch some videos, dudes. Um, yeah, Jace. Where am I going? Watch later. All right, let's do this. You know what's this thing about Paula White? Good Fight Ministries. So the Good Fight Ministries are shills too, hardcore shills, right? And then they're talking about Paula White, but then they suck anyway. This is kind of interesting too. This guy's free grace supposedly, right? But it's very shilly, this whole video he made. So I just want to check it out. Oh, this is the one that Nathan sent me. So let me check that out after Nathan.
Hey, I'm Lucas, and as you may have seen in a previous video, we are reading When Narcissism Comes to Church, and I am I don't know, I'm a few chapters in, and if you're reading along, then this will probably be meaningful to you. If you haven't started the book yet, I would encourage you to get a copy. I'm listening to it on audio, and
Look, I don't know, man. Personally, I think there's some value in some of those psychological diagnoses. I think they're not completely stupid and useless, right? But they're also, as soon as people kind of latch onto these things, they make them into more than what they are. The idea that these people are able to just identify so-called narcissists, and that's even a legitimate diagnosis. And there's no way to test whether someone is a narcissist. You can't cut their brain open and look at their brain and see if they're a narcissist. You can't do that. There's no medical basis for this. What they do is they have there's a bunch of like symptoms, I guess you could call it, and they kind of they say like they'll have like 10 symptoms, right? They'll have like a list of 10 symptoms. Like, this person, he thinks he's better than everyone, and he's really selfish or whatever. They have a list of symptoms, right? So they'll say like, okay, if you have 8 of these 10 symptoms, then you're probably narcissist. And then if you have 8 of the 10, okay, then they'll say, okay, come in for further testing. And then all those tests, they're also not really testing you for whether you have narcissism, right? They're just testing for you whether you have these other little kind of symptomatic things. And then if you have a bunch of them, if you have enough of them, then they'll say, okay, he's got enough of them, so put him in the narcissist category. Okay. But it's not like oh, if you have diabetes, they could just test you and it's like, oh, you have diabetes, man. You know, this not like it's not one of those things. So these type of diagnoses, even psychopathy, even all those things, right? Like even schizophrenia, all those things, they don't really have a test. So it's not like as scientific as some people say. And then when they try to bring him into the church now, it's very weird. You know, I saw a lot of this stuff in my seminary when they would try to bring this type of language into the church, but it's not scientific. It's not that well. I mean, there's some science there, but it's not very strong.
It's very enlightening. I've been in church work for a long time, and it really is kind of bringing light to some past experiences.
Dude, are you serious, bro? Glory, send me that video. Or give me a video title. Put the video title in the chat, dude. Are you serious, bro? I didn't even know that. I've been like, look, you know what? When Trump first won, then he was in the office and he was signing all those executive orders. I watched that whole thing, the whole press conference, and it was so depressing. It was so utterly depressing, so fake and gay. I never watched those guys ever again since then. But if you have a video like that, I'll check it out for sure. Let me see this again. Sorry, guys, I forget what he was saying.
Hey, I'm Lucas, and as you may have seen in a previous video, we are reading When Narcissism Comes to Church, and I am I'm a few chapters in, and if you're reading along, then this will probably be meaningful to you. If you haven't started the book yet, I would encourage you to get a copy. I'm listening to it on audio, and it's very enlightening. I've been in church work for a long time, and it really is kind of.
Oh, by the way, another reason why I wanted to bring this up, right? First of all, okay, he's wearing a NASA hat, so I'm sure many of you think that that's normal. But for those of you who understand what I believe about those things, he's wearing a NASA hat. He's wearing a black and white NASA hat. He has black and white background here, and this thing, these hexagons in the background, they represent the hexagram, the so-called Star of David or the Seal of Solomon. So that's why this is a very Freemasonic image in front of you right now, okay? And also even this thing, this blue and yellow weird thing that he has here, blue and yellow, and then a black and white church. This is very Freemasonic too. This book cover. So that's why I wanted to show you this. Anyway, let's hear what he's saying.
Be meaningful to you. If you haven't started the book yet, I would encourage you to get a copy. I'm listening to it on audio, and it's very enlightening. I've been in church work for a long time, and it really is kind of bringing light to some past experiences that I've seen that I never really kind of was able to make sense of. So in the book, one of the questions that would come up for just about anybody is, what is narcissism? Like, what is the common denominator? Like, what makes a behavior?
No, it sounds like I am. It's just because I look, you know what it is, man? I've embraced the logic of this thing. Like, if you're gonna believe that there's a Freemasonic conspiracy controlling the world, then there's certain things that the logic of that entails, right? And so I've just embraced those things. And so that's what I'm saying to you. Now, people are not going to necessarily believe it because they don't have the kind of worldview I have. But that's what I believe. I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm just telling you what I believe.
You're narcissistic. And so I kind of wrote down a couple of things here: self-focused, entitlement, and lack of empathy.
Yeah, the other thing is real truth. And that's a very good point you make there. And the other thing is that people start to just try to demonize people with this label. Like, anyone you don't like, they're narcissists. And I even started doing it. I started calling like AVS a narcissist. I don't know why I started doing it. I sometimes pick up these habits from people, you know? But it's true. Like, it's kind of like a dumb thing to even call somebody that, you know? And all those personality disorders, man. They're not scientific, man. It's just kind of theoretical, weird stuff.
The behaviors that I'm going to bring to your attention, each of those, that's the or the book will bring to your attention, I guess I should say. That's the common denominator, is self-focused entitlement and lack of empathy.
No, I know that's what they are. I know that's what they are. But he has these, right? He has these, right, Jace? So why did you go to these on the other side? Why go to these when you have these? Why is it only on this part of the wall? If you're gonna soundproof the room or whatever they're doing with these things, the sound absorption or whatever, why would it just be up here like this? Wouldn't you cover the whole wall with it? That's why I don't believe that story. I get it. Yeah. So people put supposedly this soundproofing stuff is in or it's sometimes in this shape of a hexagon, I guess, or whatever. So but he's got this type over here, and then he switches it to here over here. Why? So ridiculous.
Okay. So what's interesting about Chuck DeGrout's book is that he demolishes the myth that narcissism is the big personality, you know, the gregarious person, the grandiose person, the massive ego and attention seeking. And so what he does in the first chapters, whatever chapter I'm in, I can't remember, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. But what he does is he takes the Enneagram. Do you remember the Enneagram? It became really popular on the internet a while back for people to test the Enneagram.
Oh yeah. By the way, that's the other thing I was wanting to point out. Enneagram is a stupid, is a complete superstitious nonsense. It's worse than astrology. You might as well go just do astrology at your church. That's how bad Enneagram is. It's so dumb. And this guy's talking about it like it's normal. Because these people are shills, okay? You're gonna tell me, oh, Mike, look, man, there's lots of people that are Christians that do Enneagram nowadays, man. Why don't you just chill out? They're not all shills. Well, I doubt it.
Maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. But what he does is he takes the Enneagram. Do you remember the Enneagram? It became really popular on the internet a while back for people to test their Enneagram, kind of like it's a personality type. I think that's the right thing to call it. But it's like a personality type. And I want to say there's 9 of them. And
look, even those, EMTF, or you know those things, EMTF or whatever, that they'll give you like 4 letters, and that's your personality. Those are they're also kind of unscientific and dumb too, right? But they're kind of okay. This thing is completely ridiculous. Enneagram is just complete superstitious nonsense. Okay? It's like a kind of magic or something. It's some kind of witchcraft, weird, stupid, weird nonsense.
To test their Enneagram, kind of like it's a personality type. I think that's the right thing to call it. But it's like a personality type. And I want to say there's 9 of them. And so what Chuck does in this book is he shows that each of those personality types, which are supposed to kind of cover the spectrum of personality, each of those can tend toward narcissism, and it looks really different based on the personality type. So of course, in there, one of the personality types does lend itself to that big grandiose kind of narcissism that's, very ego focused and, attention seeking. But he goes through 8 other ones that are not that way, and that you might recognize. Like when I listened through it, for most of them, I thought of somebody. It was like, yeah, I think maybe they've struggled with that. And his point is to show that any personality type, any person can tend towards narcissistic behaviors. And that's actually really valuable to recognize that, because it helps us to remember that the condition is not the person, right? The dysfunction.
This is what they're doing now. They're trying to say, look. So this is the thing. So at least the psychologists or psychiatrists, right? What they'll say is that there's a personality disorder. There's certain people have personality disorders. Okay, such as even psychopathy is like that, or stuff like that, like antisocial, and they'll have like borderline. There's people called borderline personality disorder, stuff like that, right? That's what narcissism is. Narcissism is a personality disorder. People have it, and they just kind of mostly they have it their whole life. And as far as people like psychologists, they seem to think that it's kind of like hereditary or something. But what these people are saying is that there's this narcissistic tendency that pretty much anyone can get, but then he's calling it a condition. Okay, so a condition is like this thing that's how you are, you know, and you need to be like cured of it or something. You need like some kind of like intervention to fix you or something like that, right? So this is just a bad way to think of this whole thing. Like what he's trying to suggest to you is that you could be surrounded by people who are narcissistic, or they have the narcissistic condition, and it could be anybody, your mother, your neighbor, right? So then they get people to think like this now, right? And now what people do when they have this way of thinking in their head, there's no way for them to scientifically test whether their next door neighbor is narcissistic, right? But if the guy always like kind of like whatever, he just borrows their lawnmower and he doesn't give it back or whatever, he does stuff like that all the time, right? Then they start to hate him, and then they start to go, oh, this guy's probably a narcissist, man. That's what it is. Oh, I knew it. I saw it. I read that book and I saw it. All the things that book says. That's what my neighbor acts like. And then they get that into their head. It's just dumb. And none of it's in the Bible. Not one of it. Not one part of it. Why would you teach this at a church? Do people go to church to learn this stupid nonsense? What the hell? Excuse me.
Function is not the person. The person is valued by God. The person is, is a whole person who has some dysfunctional behaviors. And when they get squeezed or when they get squished or when they get stressed, those behaviors become more prominent. They kind of stick out. And so one that, and here's another thing that kind of occurred to me as I was reading, is that for certain personality types, they are probably more harmed. I haven't gotten far enough in the book to really, they are probably more harmed.
What's up, man? Am I being paranoid, guys? Am I being paranoid? Jason's making me like, Jason's like, oh no, is this soundproofing, Mike? Nah, his hand is just happening to do that thing, Mike. Just happens to do that. He just happens to be wearing a NASA hat, you know?
Harmed. I haven't gotten far enough in the book to really, I mean, maybe he talks about this. We'll find out. But it occurred to me that certain personalities, we'll find out. But it occurred to me that.
Am I being paranoid? Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I am.
Certain personality types are probably more harmed by other personality types' narcissistic behavior. And I'll give you an example. For me, over the years, I've noticed that I am more harmed by what he calls perfectionistic narcissism, the type of narcissistic behaviors that come with a perfectionistic person. That one is pretty harmful to me when I encounter that in other people, because I am so different from that. I'm so opposite from that. And so for you, if you've encountered narcissistic behaviors, you may not have even realized perfectionistic narcissism, personality types, narcissistic behavior. And I'll give you an example. For me, over the years, I've noticed that I am more harmed by what he calls perfectionistic narcissism, the type of narcissistic behaviors that come with a perfectionistic person. That one is pretty harmful to me when I encounter that in other people, because I am so different from that. I'm so opposite from that. And so for you, if you've behaviors that come with a perfectionistic person, that one is pretty harmful to me when I encounter that in other people, because I am so different from that. I'm so opposite from that. And so for you, if
So
you've
he's
encountered
different than the perfectionism or something. So he's different than perfectionism. So when he encounters, or he thinks he encounters, or this is what he's telling them, right? He's telling them that he supposedly encounters people who are this type of perfectionist narcissist or whatever, and then those are particularly harmful for him because he's the opposite of that. And so now he's going to tell the people how to deal with something. I don't know.
different from that. I'm so opposite from that. And so for you, if you've encountered narcissistic type behaviors, you may not have even realized it. So one of the ways to kind of identify that maybe you've been, touched by this in a negative way is that you can think through painful experiences that you've had that are chronic with certain relationships, not like a single painful experience or like a misunderstanding and then you never really had any more painful experiences in that relationship, but a relationship where it's like consistently you're hurt by this other person's behavior. It's very possible that their behavior is leaning towards a narcissistic behavior. And remember,
imagine that. Imagine telling somebody that. Imagine telling his thousands of viewers that. This is this is the guy that he's with Sean Lazar from GES. Sean Lazar left GES and he started this Free Grace International thing or something like that. And these two are kind of together now. And this fool is just telling these people. What he just said to the people that if you know somebody who every time you encounter them or something, you have some kind of they hurt your feelings or something, then it's possible that they might be narcissists. This is so dumb. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine this? And people don't have this kind of there's no way to systematically test this at all, right? So all they're gonna do is this, they're gonna say, oh, that guy I don't like. I'm not saying everybody's gonna do this, but people that aren't that like fast on the draw, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, every time I see my teacher, he just like maybe you just have a teacher who's just like a dick, right? Excuse me, just a person that's not that very nice, and then you don't like him, right? And this guy's saying that every time you see this person, he gets you a bad feeling. Well, it may be because they're narcissists. Like so dumb.
Or like a misunderstanding, and then you never really had any more painful experiences in that relationship. But a relationship where it's like consistently you're hurt by this other person's behavior, it's very possible that their behavior is leaning towards a narcissistic behavior. And remember, what makes that behavior narcissistic is
yes, he says it's very possible. It's very possible. It's very possible. So it's a way for him to, no matter what he says, he's never going to take a firm stance on anything, right? It's possible that it's narcissistic. It's also possible that it's psychopathic or that it's something else, or that they don't even have a condition, or that all these conditions are nothing, it's made up. That's also possible, right? Everything's very possible. It's very possible that you just don't like your neighbor. And now you're trying to make them into narcissists so you can have an excuse to hate on them some more. That's very possible as well. But he's not going to tell you that. But when they always say very possible, it's like if anybody actually diagnoses their mailman with narcissism because they don't like him, and then they get into trouble, he can always say, "Oh, well, I said it was possible. I didn't say it was necessarily true."
Narcissistic behavior. And remember, what makes that behavior narcissistic is self-focused, entitlement, and a lack of empathy. So far, this book is very enlightening.
Self-focus, entitlement, and a lack of empathy. That's what makes somebody narcissistic, guys. If you just have self-focus, what did you say?
Entitlement and a lack of that behavior narcissistic is self-focused, entitlement, and a lack of empathy.
Self-focused, entitlement, and a lack of empathy. That's like most people now. This is most of the Western world now. You know, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. This modern society makes everyone like this. Everyone in modern society is self-focused and whatever else he was saying. Everyone's like that now. This is so dumb.
So far, this book is very enlightening. Now,
They
one
do.
of the
They
things I
do
want to
already.
wrap up.
They already do, bro. They already do. As soon as that word narcissist got popular, and you know, now you hear it everywhere now, right? As soon as it got popular, somebody made a video saying God is a narcissist. And if you just go on YouTube, go on the search and go God narcissism, and you'll see a bunch of videos saying God is a narcissist. I'm telling you.
So far, this book is very enlightening. Now, one of the things I want to wrap up with this. Chuck is
these kind of people, these kind of Christians, quote unquote, that they try to push these dumb books on you. Anytime a Christian's trying to get you to read some dumb book, it's not the Bible. They take you to church and they make you read this stupid book. Why? Why would I go to? I can read that book at the library. I can just look that book up on the internet. Why do I need you guys at a church to teach me this dumb Bible, this fake, not the Bible book? I want to learn about the Bible from my church. I want to learn about this dumb book.
Trying to give us tools to label people, right? So, like, I'm not a professional counselor. And if you're watching this, most of you aren't. There might be some.
Now he's trying to get out of it. Now you see what he just spent the whole video telling people how they can label people as narcissists, right? He just spent the whole video doing that. Now he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm not trying to tell you to label people, but I just did. But I'm not telling you to, even though I just did." Oh, sir.
Give us tools to label people, right? So, like, I'm not a professional counselor. And if you're watching this, most of you aren't. There might be some professional counselors, but most of you are not professional counselors. And we have to be really careful about turning someone into a label. And I suspect you pick up a book about narcissism.
So okay, we have to be very careful about turning someone into a label. That's like basically, you don't want to. I mean, if you want to be very careful, then you wouldn't have said all the things that you just said. All the things, this whole video, all he's been talking about is how if somebody does this, this, and this, it's very possible that they might be narcissists. It's very possible, not a little bit possible, very possible, right? Now he's like, oh, but don't label people. Don't label. You just told us how to label people. Now you think what? Now they're gonna listen to you now? This thing? So dumb.
Professional counselors, and we have to be really careful about turning someone into a label. And I suspect you pick up a book about narcissism. The reason you would pick that up is because you've been hurt by somebody and you suspect maybe they have some narcissistic tendencies. And so it's actually pretty important to slow down on that front. And it occurred to me today as I was reading this book.
Well, what's slow down? What's slow down? What is he talking about? Like, how could I ever diagnose somebody with narcissism? I can't. It's impossible. Okay. And I guess what they're saying is that they're not even trying to say that it's the actual personality disorder known as narcissism, which has been documented by psychiatrists, right? That's not what they're talking about. They're saying that there's just this tendency that some people just happen to have the tendency. Any personality group, any of the 9 personalities of the Enneagram, stupid nonsense, any of them, they could become narcissists. You just never know. But if they have a lack of empathy and they're self-centered or whatever, then that's narcissistic. That has a narcissistic quality to it. It's like it's literally impossible for us to actually diagnose anyone with any of those conditions. And they're not even trying to say that. They're just trying to say that people without the actual personality disorder, they just have this narcissistic tendencies or something. And it's just so like misleading and ridiculous.
Book that the goal should be not to label that person, but to love that person. and to show them that they're loved, and to help them, to both help you to interact with them more healthily, but also help them to recognize and interact more healthily. And if you only ever get to the first, to just label it so that you don't feel crazy, that's okay too. But the end goal.
Label what? Label what? Label it. Label it so you don't feel crazy. What? I don't know what this guy's saying. I kind of get what he's trying to say. I think what he's getting at is like a lot of people when they talk about narcissists, right? They'll talk about how the narcissist is constantly trying to get in your head to get you to think, like they'll try to gaslight you and get you to think that you're crazy and all this stuff, right? So I think that's where he's coming from with this. I'm not sure what he's talking about, though. This is very weird.
Act more healthily. And if you only ever get to the first, to just label it so that you don't feel crazy, that's okay.
So now you have to label it so you don't feel crazy. I guess what he's saying is, so if you have one of these people that they hurt you all the time, every time you encounter this person, you get hurt. And then if you kind of do the math in your head of the way they are, and you figure out that they're self-centered and they lack empathy and the other thing he was saying before, then that's narcissistic. And then therefore you can stop feeling like you're crazy. You can just blame it on them or something. I guess that's what he's getting at, I guess. This is so dumb. This is so next level dumb.
That's okay too. But the end goal, hopefully, would be that it's to help that person feel loved and to feel that lack that they're feeling, you'd be able to help them. So, and I should say this, that
you'd be able to help them. Well, this is the thing. If somebody has narcissistic personality disorder, if they actually have that supposed disorder, right? Like I say, I don't even know if it's a real thing, but let's say it is. You can't help them, okay? There's no way you're just like you just know them, or they're part of your church, or they're in your family or something. There's nothing you can do. You can't do anything about that. The most you can do is maybe get them to get some kind of treatment or something, I guess, if you think that's a real thing, But the idea that these guys are trying to say, oh, you can help them or something, it's so dumb.
Feeling you'd be able to help them. So, and I should say this, that for narcissism,
I think this guy is doing handstands, because look at how he's doing it.
And I should say this, that
so first he did the one finger, right? Now I know you're gonna say, oh, he's just saying wait, but then look, he's gonna do the 6 thing, but very quickly. He's just gonna do it very quickly.
For narcissism,
he just did it right there.
And I should say this, that
he's gonna do it in like 1 second.
For narcissism,
maybe I missed it.
Able to help them. So, and I should say this, that for narcissism,
maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm seeing things. My bad. Sorry, you guys.
That self-focused entitlement and lack of empathy, what he's kind of pointing out is that those come from some need, and those behaviors are, I would say designed. They're not designed, but they happen because the person is trying to fill a need within themselves. That actually helped me quite a bit to not be upset about what I think is probably narcissistic behavior in others, to realize that, oh, they're hurting, or they're running from a hurt, or they've probably experienced trauma, and this is a coping mechanism. That's a really different thing than just like, oh, trauma, and this is a coping mechanism. That's a really different thing than just like, oh, they're mean, or they're a jerk, or they've been awful to me, So that was actually helpful for me to recognize that. So lots of valuable stuff in this book so far. Highly recommend it from what I've read so far. Now, like I told you in the last video, I haven't read the whole thing. We may come to things that I'm really...
He didn't even read the whole book. And he's recommending it to his thousands of listeners. What a joke, these people. These people are a complete joke.
Uncomfortable with, but so far I can see why people like this book. It's pretty valuable. So thanks for watching.
It's pretty valuable. What if the end of the book is a bunch of crazy nonsense? He hasn't even read the book, and he's telling his thousands of listeners, this book's great. Buy this book, guys. Take it to your church. Like, make a church group out of it.
And stay tuned for other updates and discussions. I'm going to be out of town teaching at a Bible college next week, but I think I'll probably have time.
You're a clown, dude. You're a clown. You and your Bible college are clowns. Anyway, I'm gonna show you this thing about the Enneagram. This thing is so weird. Super weird, man. All right, look at this. The Enneagram personality, or simply the Enneagram, is a pseudoscientific model of the human psyche, which is principally understood and taught as a typology of 9 interconnected personality types. See this? Doesn't this look like some Freemason thing? Look at this. Look at this thing, man. It's weird, dude. Or should I go to the website or should I go to the Wikipedia? Let's see what this thing's all about. Truity. The Enneagram personality. Look at this, man. Look at this thing. These people, this is so like exactly like you know how they always make those stars? Like the hexagram. They make the hexagram, they'd make the heptagram, you know, for the Enochian magic. And then this just looks like another magic. You know, because they have the pentagram. Then they go to the hexagram, right? Then there's a heptagram, which is the 7, right? That's what they use for Enochian magic. Okay. And so 8 would it be the octagram or whatever, and then this is the Enneagram, it's the 9. It's pretty demonic to me. It seems pretty demonic. This free Enneagram personality test will show you which of the 9 personality types suit you best. Say you score for all 9 Enneagram types and understand where you fit in the Enneagram personality system. It's a bunch of foolishness, man. Anyway, this is weird, man. Does he only have 30 viewers? That's weird. I thought they had more popularity than that. Anyway, the Enneagram of personality, or simply Enneagram. Oh, why would they do it? Oh, it's because it's like witchcraft. So if they're like into, I mean, this is the theory, right? I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm just saying what I believe. But it's a form of witchcraft, so they do it for that reason. And the reason why it's important for people like him, or in my theory, right? Why even a small YouTuber or a small type of personality may be part of it is because, especially in our community, right? Like Free Grace, it's a small community, but it's the community with the most power to get people freed from the devil, to get people saved. And so it's in the interest of the devil and the Illuminati's to plant people in our community. The Enneagram of personality, or simply Enneagram, is a pseudoscience. Oh, we read that. The origins and history of the ideas associated with the Enneagram personality are disputed. Contemporary approaches are principally derived from the teachings of Bolivian psychospiritual teacher Oscar Icazo. And the Chilean psychiatrist Claudio Naranjo. Integral philosophy. Following his early life in Bolivia, Icazo was later principally based in Chile, where he founded the Erica School in 1968. Anyway, whatever. We'll check it out later. Naranjo's theory were also influenced by earlier teachings about personality by George Gurdjieff and the Fourth Way. This guy's some hypnotist weirdo too. And the Fourth Way tradition. As a typology, Enneagram defines 9 personality types. I don't know what this is, man. peer-reviewed research, what does not accepted within relevant academic communities, because it's dumb. The Enneagram integrates some concepts to parallel other theories of personality. Yeah. Well, I believe in what you're talking about because we see celebrities and politicians do it all the time. I just don't understand how smaller influencers would benefit by the hand signal. Yeah, no, they don't benefit from it. It's more like, I think it's more like, I think there's a few aspects to it. Like one aspect is the fact that they'll do this thing right in front of you and then you don't notice. And so it's kind of like, it's part of the trick, you know, like I should talk about this. I'll do a live about that, like how witchcraft works and stuff. Yeah, it helps them recognize each other. That's true too. That's probably one of the more common reasons given. Anyway, this is dumb, but Enneagram is majorly demonic and wicked. Okay, don't get into any Enneagram stuff. If people start talking to you about that, I mean, my opinion, I just recommend you not to do that.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.